to me, was probably one of the biggest smackings I've ever seen Bill Maher take, at least in the past year.
Misogynist word. They tried to tell us Mitt Romney was a raging sexist because of binders full of women. They tried to tell us John McCain was a raging racist, notwithstanding the fact that he had adopted a daughter from Bangladesh. They've been doing this for every Republican. They get to Trump, and we no longer are listening to.
Was only a taste of what was to come, at least during the segment that Megyn Kelly was there. Now, guys, really quick. My personal feelings on Megyn Kelly is that, let's just say that she's come around, all right? She's come around a lot more where she was back in 2015, 2016 timeframe. She's come around, all right? That's basically all I'm going to say there. Megyn has kind of helped win me back over a little bit. But, of course, she goes on Bill Maher, and, of course, like I said before, somebody's got to get smacked. By the way, YouTube, when I say that, I'm not advocating or anything like that. I'm using the proverbial language. I'm just letting the Google gods know that before we go any further, before they decide to like limit the ads on the video or say that this video right here cannot be posted. This video here cannot get out there because somebody said smack. That's how bad the YouTube algorithm is as far as certain bits, certain things that are said. Now, before we fully dive into this is going to be the first of 3 videos that are going to come out tomorrow. This is going to be coming out probably at about 11 o'clock. Like I said, I'm going to try something for the time being, at least for the rest of the year, just to kind of see where I'm at algorithmically. A video will probably come out at 2 or 3 o'clock, and then another one will be at 6 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and kind of give you guys a bit of a preview, and I'll get right back on topic of this video here. One of those is going to be about these recent comments that Greg Popovich made, but that video is going to be more about people's legacies and exactly how it is that they're ruining them. That one will be at probably 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock tomorrow. And of course, there's also going to be a bit of a fault to this one right here because we got to talk about libs and their, how do I say this, their fascination with the word fascism, and of course why it is that that's not going to help out them. It's not going to help them out this election cycle, especially given the unpopularity of their candidate, who, by the way, also got ruthlessly booed during one of her rallies the other night.
We are fighting for America's future, and we understand the opportunity we have before us to turn the page on the fear
Yeah, we'll be talking about that in video number 2. And also to go on top of that, there will also be a couple of videos coming out on Tuesday that I've been trying to get out for the past, let's just say past few days. But obviously things have happened. And of course, once again, like always, things always find a way to shift. So what exactly happened? So Megyn Kelly goes on Bill Maher and they have a conversation about that word, fascism. Well, let's go ahead and start there. So the key talking point that they want to use against Trump at this moment in time is that he's basically Hitler, Orange Hitler. I did a video on this the other day, and of course, I've also explained to you guys, and of course, I'll keep saying it over and over again, this is where it kind of comes with the territory if you are the Republican nominee. If you are right of far left, you will suddenly be called Hitler. You will suddenly be called Mussolini. This is how these people operate, but it's also a strong indication that these people have lost themselves, and also to go on top of this, they've also poisoned the well. We'll talk a little bit more about poisoning the well in video number 2. But the fact is, you can't have a conversation with these people, and I think that some liberals, one of them, of course, is Bill Maher, is finally starting to get it. As you guys will see some of that right here.
I'm not saying you don't have a point. I'm just saying it's hard for people to understand why that, which is not democracy, that's the border issue. And you're right, they fucked it up. That, with like the things he's been saying, and all the people in his administration who said he's a fascist, he wants to be a fascist, he talks like a fascist, his friends are all dictators.
I don't care about that at all. Not at all.
Because?
January 6th was not good.
Wait, why don't you care about that at all?
Because they've been saying that about Trump for years. They've been saying that about Republican candidates for years. It has like a long storied history. If you are at all center or center right, you are used to having your candidate of choice completely demonized, whether it's the F word, the R word.
At one point in time, they were even calling Bill Maher a fascist because Bill Maher simply just disagreed with the woke mob. That's how these people operate. Of course, the woke mob is what the hell is controlling the media, and I think it's the media that's actually controlling the country as far as policy is concerned. There's one thing I will agree 100% with Bill O'Reilly on, and that, of course, is I don't believe that the media is a wing of the Democratic Party. I actually believe the Democratic Party is a wing of the media. We'll have more conversations on that in the future, but of course, like I said, we're going to be doing a bit of a content shift next year, which is going to be a little bit more pop culture. You guys will get a piece of that in video number 3, but still, though, the point is this right here. If you are the Republican nominee, you will be called a fascist. I don't know if she said it yet or not, but even John McCain, somebody that a lot of conservatives don't claim, even adopted a girl from Bangladesh. Now, the situation behind that, that's a different conversation altogether, but still, though, I mean...
Misogynist word. They tried to tell us Mitt Romney was a raging sexist because of binders full of women. They tried to tell us John McCain was a raging racist, notwithstanding the fact that he had adopted a daughter from Bangladesh. They've been doing this for every Republican. They get to Trump, and we no longer are listening to...
George W. Bush got called a fascist. Bob Dole got called a fascist. George Herbert Walker Bush got called a fascist. Reagan got called a fascist. I want to say Gerald Ford and Richard Nixon got called fascists. Barry Goldwater got called a fascist. This is just what these people do. They constantly scream fascism at you when you're just simply somebody who disagrees with them. By the way, most of these people don't even know what the hell a fascist is. You see, when they scream fascist and they scream that this person's super right-wing, what they don't seem to realize is that fascism was actually developed and created by a guy by the name of Giovanni Gentili. Him and Benito Mussolini, yes, and then eventually Hitler. National Socialism. National Socialism? That's right. Fascism is actually based upon Marxism, which is a left-wing ideology. Eric D. July did a video on this. Razorfist did a video on this. There's a guy named Teak History who does videos on this constantly. I advise you guys go give these people a check. I'll probably link a couple of videos in the description box because they are, for the most part, 100% correct. It's typically the brand of socialism that these people want, but still, though, the point is this right here. Fascism is not right-wing. It's actually very, very left-wing. Like I said before, these people have never actually really and truly studied it. Fascism is now just a buzzword, and it's gotten to the point where people have actually gotten numb to it. But let's continue.
Trump has incendiary rhetoric, there's no question. But we have 4 years to judge him by, and the country was going pretty well when Trump was in there, unlike the 4 years we've had under these two.
Well, I mean, I could argue with that too. Actually, if Trump had this economy, and I could go through all the stats, the stock market is through the roof, wages are up.
Not as high as it was under Trump.
Well, first of all, Trump inherited somebody else's economy.
That's what Barack Obama would like us to do.
Well, it's true.
Okay.
It's really on day one, everything changed.
So just walk me through it. So Trump has Obama to thank for his economy,
okay,
but Biden can't thank Trump for anything.
Okay. Let's get off this. Because it's not what I really want to get to.
Before I fully react to what was said and exactly the smackdown that the backhand that Megyn gave him, I want to go ahead and say this really quick. Bill Maher, if you guys remember, was rooting for a recession. All right, he was rooting for a recession to shut down the country. He was wanting that to get Trump out of office, okay? So if he was rooting for a recession, then that right there must mean that the economy was doing pretty daggone good, all right?
Oh, please, bring on the recession. Yeah. Sorry if that hurts.
Just saying, the economy must have been doing very fine if you got to root for a recession to get a president that was actually getting stronger out of office. Why might that be? Because the economy was great under him. Also, something else, too, to consider is that GDP, when Obama left office, was below 2%. The economy was terrible under Barack Obama. Ask anybody and everybody who had to work multiple part-time jobs, not just myself, not just anecdotes, but a lot of people had to work multiple part-time jobs when Obama was in office because the economy was so daggone stagnant. But yet Obama wants to show up and take credit for Trump's economy, and now you've got Biden out here trying to take credit for Trump's economy. I mean, you can't have it both ways. I mean, you got to be realistic. And this is another reason why it is that people don't want to talk to liberals anymore because of the way they act and how dishonest that they have become. Not saying all liberals, but definitely the liberals who are in our media who are controlling the conversation or trying to control the propaganda. But you guys will see in video number 2 how it is that this bit of propaganda is not working because people have found ways around it. But then the topic turns.
Equally important, maybe as important, is what we're doing to our children with this trans insanity. I mean, this is it's the issue of our time, both with respect to children and women's rights.
Well, let's back up a little on that. Just so people have some perspective on this. Yes, I mean, there's, I think, 500,000 people in high school who identify as trans right now. I think it's something like 3.3% who say it. What?
It's a social contagion.
Okay.
Now, I didn't provide much going into that small segment, but of course the topic is now about the transistors, which I've got to say that way because of the algorithm. And of course, this also includes puberty blockers. Now, we're going to watch some more of this before I fully respond and tell you what I think is really truly going on and how it was that Megyn destroyed him. But the point is this right here. Studies have shown that people with gender dysphoria, right around the age of 18, especially in males, most of the time they just end up becoming gay. Same thing with females too. If you just leave them alone, there's no point in cutting off a person's life before it even starts. A lot of people's life, and by the way, you can define life however the hell you want. I typically tend to respond it by somebody who typically has a heartbeat and they're still going strong or they're still going. But the point is this right here. What is man's goal in life primarily? Same thing with women, reproduce. You're cutting off these people's ability to not only reproduce, but also something else that Megyn's going to mention, also experience sexual pleasure. Now, I'm not going to get too much into that there because I want to try to keep things a little bit clean, and I don't want to like come out here and start talking some degenerate mess, but the point is this right here. What we're doing to our kids, and also the bathroom issue, also to go on top of this, the sports issue, yeah, it's getting out of control, and you can probably see that there's a massive undertow that's about to show up on election day to vote against this nonsense, but let's look at it.
I would agree with a lot of what you're saying, because I think your bodily health comes first. And also, there have been 2 recent reports. There was the Cass report in England. And just so people, again, have perspective on this, we're the only country that still does it this way.
Right, we've stopped
all the
giving
other
those drugs.
Countries that you know, liberals always look to for the liberal guidance, England, the Scandinavian countries, they're not like what we do.
That's right. They were.
They were.
And then they realized there's no evidence that it helps, and actually there's a lot of evidence that it hurts, and they stopped.
And there was the New York Times yesterday, and you know, for the New York Times to put this out says something because they're pretty woke on these kind of issues. And there was this woman, Dr. Olson Kennedy, who is for doing puberty blockers, and she basically buried a report for 10 years because she said, you know, it could be used in court. Well, isn't that why we do studies?
Right.
Because we want to find out what the answer is. But you do concede, or I'm asking if you concede, that there are people who are trans or who are...
Yeah.
Okay, so you understand.
I mean, I have some in my family. I have nothing against people who actually have gender dysphoria and are sincere.
Megyn Kelly is saying this is correct. Now, Bill Maher is giving her a little bit of a bone here by not fully disagreeing, which I'm glad to see Bill can do. And of course, Bill has even done videos on this where he thinks this entire issue of the agenda is a little bit crazy and it's gone way too far. It's actually pretty damn sick, disgusting, and psychotic when you actually look at it. And of course, that right there is another video for another day, another topic that is a little bit more comprehensive. But the point is this right here. People who have gender dysphoria, we should be helping. We should actually be providing psychological services, emotional services, rather than telling them to. That right there is basically what I'm trying to say. Yes, I understand that there are mental conditions where a guy may think that he is a girl or he has a girl trapped in a man's body. Same thing, vice versa with women, but still at the same time, it's gotten out of control. These people need to be helped, not sent to a doctor right away and given puberty blockers. And we need to stop that mess, and it's probably something that this country's probably going to pay for in the near future, especially this country's youth, but let's continue.
With that, and I would respect them and be kind to them, and as I have been. This is a different issue. This is about children, and then it's about women's spaces and sports.
And that there is so much fluidity in childhood. And I mean, I was insane when I was a child. I remember it. I hated everything about my life going to high school. I was depressed all the time. I was beaten up and worried about ostracism and a million other things. I don't know what would have happened if someone said, the answer to your problem is that you're really not a boy or whatever it is.
That you need to have body parts.
It just seemed to do something so permanent when, at a time when things are in such flux, that we are letting the ideology and the politics get ahead of good science, which is ironic because these are the follow the science people.
Yeah.
So I understand that. But again, this is more important to you than fascism.
Yes, be respectful. And see, something that the media is doing, especially the radical left, is that they're trying to condition people that if you call this out and tell the truth, you're harming that person. No, you're not. You're trying to save their behinds. You're trying to keep them from doing something that they're going to regret. These people have a 45% self-deletion rate. Let that sit in, 45% self-deletion rate. And of course, YouTube will find a way to limit the ads now that I've said that, but it's got to be said. Don't worry, these types of takes will eventually go on Rumble, probably starting next year. It was meant to happen this year, but of course, you guys know the surgeries and everything and the health issues. But The point is this right here. We need to stop this mess, especially when it's going after our children. And also one more thing too about women's sports. I've said this on multiple occasions. There should not be that going on in women's sports. And also at the same time, you need to stay out of women's bathrooms. Also at the same time, you need to be staying out of men's bathrooms as well, because at some point in time, somebody's going to get the harebrained scheme to have a man who's really a woman go into the arena and fight a man. It's not a good idea. It's a horrible idea. We're already seeing what happens vice versa. But now to the dictator's convert, because guess what? Once again, we got to talk about Trump doing what? Being a fascist. Let's roll this.
These are the dictator countries. There's a very World War II feeling here when the dictator countries are getting together. I mean, in World War II, what did Hitler and the Japanese have in common? Nothing, except they saw the world one way, fascism. They all have to do it in their different way. Iran is a fascist country in their own way. So is China, so is Russia, Saudi Arabia, you could say also. Somehow, the world seems to be dividing between the good guy countries, the democratic countries, and these autocracies. And if your guy gets in, we're going to be on the wrong side of this one.
This right here is just brain rot from Bill, but let's continue.
If my guy gets in, I think we'll go back to the time that we had when he was president, which is the only time we didn't start a war and get involved in a war. Did Putin?
That's not true.
Did Putin?
Jimmy Carter never fired a shot.
Putin did not invade Ukraine until we had the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, which projected weakness through the world. People understood that we were enfeebled, and that is what was provocative. Weakness is provocative.
I feel like
Trump destabilized these people. They didn't know what to expect of him. Next thing you know, he's bombing Soleimani. Trump did strategic strikes that had people on their heels. They didn't know what he might do to them. And we did not have Putin invade
It's what he might do to
Ukraine.
us that I'm a little more worried. I feel like you...
Good old-fashioned projection and accusing you of what these people are already guilty of. We'll probably do a video on that, why the left projects, but let's get back to it. Once again, absolute brain rot. But then again, though, when he says what he might do to us, maybe he's thinking about people like himself. Yeah, the suburban liberal types in Hollywood, there's people who've got a lot of dirt on them, like the Diddy types, the people who went to those parties. I just wonder, just saying, maybe that right there is what Bill is really alluding to. But still, though, the man was already president before, and he didn't really do anything to the American people. So, yeah, once again, this right is just... There's something else, too, that needs to be said, though, before I go any further and look at the rest of this. What Megyn is saying is correct. Vladimir Putin did not invade Ukraine when Trump was in office, and I've already told you guys how I feel about that. Two turds fight to be king turtle on top of shit mountain. You didn't have this situation in the Middle East between the Israelis and the Palestinians and the Gaza Strip. You didn't have this situation between Israel and Lebanon. Things were kind of quiet. When Trump was in office, he basically was a bull, meaning that he was unpredictable, meaning that people did not know what he was going to do. By the way, you don't have to start fights. You don't have to start wars. You don't have to invade countries to set them straight. All you got to do is just drop a bomb on them when they're belligerent, and they'll keep quiet very quickly. By the way, at one point in time, I remember when George W. Bush was in office, I got to say this, by the way, I'm no fan of Mubarak or Gaddafi. He never was, but still at the same time, if their people got out of control, Bush, because he was known to do some stuff like bomb somebody or invade somebody, he could put in a phone call to either one of those two leaders and they would get their people in line and all of a sudden they would be quiet. Do you think maybe people just might miss that? They might miss stable leadership, which, by the way, Trump was stable when it comes here, but of course him looking unstable and looking unpredictable kept people at bay. It's called foreign policy. It's how wars don't start. You check certain people when they act stupid or do certain things. The exact opposite of what Joe Biden is doing or has done. But let's continue.
4 years of Trump. We've had 4 years of Trump.
Yeah.
Trump did not go after
So
his
what?
political enemies with the Department of Justice.
Right.
That was Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Well, we had Hitler in the 30s and things were okay, and then we had Hitler in the 40s and they got way worse.
Oh, I
Just
see.
because we had
He
him.
hit his Hitlerism the first 4 years, and is going to come out in full force.
He
the second
tried to
four.
do things like that. He tried to do dictatorial
Biden
fascist things,
actually did.
and he was stopped.
Joe Biden has flouted the law when it comes to these student loan giveaway
Really?
programs.
You're
He's
talking about
flouted the law. Supreme Court opinions that told him he didn't have the right to do it, and he openly said, I will get around the Supreme Court. He did it with respect to rent abatement programs, the same exact thing. And then he and Kamala Harris unleashed this Department of Justice against their political enemy, Donald Trump, their number one chief rival for the presidency.
Okay. Well, we'll
Is it
see.
funny? Because they did it.
We'll see.
You want to talk fascism? That's fascist.
I think history is not going to be kind to your point of view, but I appreciate you coming
A
on.
pure, unadulterated brain rot out of Bill. The most that Trump did was try to secure the border and the bump stock ban, which was totally unconstitutional. I did not agree with. By the way, Trump voters can criticize Trump. We normally do. It's just these people are such an echo chamber, they don't actually see it, or they lie and they're dishonest about it. I really think it's a combination of both. It's the lefty types like Bill Maher who lie about where it is that the radical left just simply don't know because they're stuck in their echo chamber. The point is this right here. Bill Maher once again shows people that he's got a lot of brain rot, and of course that right there is obviously oozing out of him. And the closer and closer and closer we get to election day, more and more and more will come out of it. Probably to the point to where his brain will just completely fall out of his head. But still, Trump was in office for 4 years and we got none of that. Keep going on with this type of stuff, and as I'll explain in video number 2, this type of stuff is only going to help the Donald out, all right? People are looking for some kind of law and order, and the more and more you keep calling him a fascist, the more and more it just makes Trump just seem a lot stronger than what he really is, even though he just had an interview with Joe Rogan where he was on for 3 hours, which I may link in the description box. I don't know if you guys want to watch it or not. It's already got right around 30 million views. It's taken off up the chain. The fact of the matter is people are beginning to wake up and they're starting to see through the media and the media lies. And once again, Bill Maher is just another extension of it. Megyn Kelly just went on that show and absolutely just smacked the hell out of him. But you also notice something else too. And it goes back to something else that I have said about Bill Maher when it comes to conversations. Bill Maher feeds on the way the crowd reacts. All this when he did his Covey debate or discussion with Dan Crenshaw. Once again, not the biggest fan of Crenshaw. When you look into him, you see a lot of things that, quite frankly, are pretty shady. But of course, when you took the crowd away, Bill would just look completely stupid. I find it funny, though, that people in the crowd are actually cheering the type of nonsense that Bill peddles. But then again, though, it is L.A., it is an echo chamber. And once again, though, somebody else who, quite frankly, knows what the hell they're doing, somebody who's actually got some brains and knows what the hell is going on, goes on his show and puts him in his place. Now, I want to go ahead and say this really quick before I end this video. There is going to be a little bit more from this segment in the next video because we got to talk about the unlikability of Kamala Harris and how it is that this fascism word that these people keep throwing out there is only just turning more and more people away from the Democratic Party and how it's going to affect them long term. In one of Tuesday's videos, we'll be talking about the left as a whole going forward, especially when it comes to the online left. So make sure you guys stick around for all those. Please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sound off in the comment section. I'd love to hear what you guys got to say. I'll see you guys later.